They say a man knows when something's off. Sometimes it's dramatic, lipstick on a collar, hotel receipts in a jacket pocket. But for me, it was the salad spinner. Yeah, a salad spinner. Monica and I had been married for 13 years, and in all that time, she mocked that salad spinner like it was a medieval torture device. Called it pointless plastic nonsense. So when I walked into our kitchen on the morning of our anniversary and saw it sitting proudly on the counter, drying arugula like it belonged there, I knew. Something had shifted. Something had been spun. Since when do we eat arugula? I asked, sipping the coffee I made. Because, let's be honest, I always made it. She didn't even look up. Trying something new. Trying something new. She said it like she was ordering new blinds. But I could tell, this wasn't about salad. She kissed me on the cheek that morning. Cold lips. Her usual perfume, but too much of it. Like she was covering something up, or maybe trying to smell like someone else. Now, I'm no FBI profiler. But I've read people. I've taught high schoolers for 17 years, and if there's one thing you get good at, it's spotting a lie before it's finished leaving their lips. And Monica? She was dripping in it. It wasn't just the spinner. It wasn't just the lips. It was everything. The late yoga nights, the sudden desire to start jogging at 6 a.m., and the password she'd added to her laptop for security reasons. It wasn't paranoia. It was the kind of clarity that only comes when you're standing dead center in the wreckage of something you didn't realize was on fire. I didn't confront her that day. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I did what any self-respecting, slowly unraveling husband would do. I bought her flowers. Nice ones, 2 peonies, her favorite. Hand-delivered them to her office downtown. Receptionist looked surprised to see me. Oh, Monica isn't here today. I tilted my head. She stepped out? She checked the screen. No, actually, she didn't come in. Now, you can tell a lot about a marriage by the way a man handles that sentence. I smiled. Said, oh, must have slipped her mind. Then left. Did I call her? Nope. Did I send a text? Nope. I drove home. Slowly. The peonies on the passenger seat didn't even rustle. I parked in the driveway. Sat in silence. Then walked inside, grabbed a legal pad from the junk drawer, and made a list. What I know. She's lying about work. She's wearing perfume she only used to wear when we were dating. She made salad. Not just any salad. One with goat cheese. She's jogging. But her shoes are still pristine. She's on her phone all the time. Always smiling. Never with me. I titled the second column, What I Suspect. And that's when it began. Not the end. The beginning. The next morning, I played dumb. Watch her lace up those pristine Nikes she suddenly couldn't live without, tying them with the focus of a woman trying to convince someone, maybe herself, that she belonged in them. Need a running partner? I asked, sipping coffee like I wasn't already 3 steps ahead. She laughed. Too hard. God, no. You'd slow me down. I smiled back. Fair enough. The moment the door shut behind her, I stood up, drained my cup, and opened the drawer where she kept her old iPhone, the one she never bothered to wipe when she upgraded. Monica's fatal flaw wasn't vanity. It was convenience. She never deleted anything. She was the kind of person who'd leave an open secret sitting on the shelf, assuming nobody would ever bother to reach for it. The phone turned on without a hitch. No password. No fingerprint. Just that old background photo from Cabo, us on the beach, before things got quiet between us. I went into her old text messages. Most were boring. Hair appointments, group chats, her sister complaining about her husband. And then I saw it. You still make my heart race. Even if I don't run. Sent to a contact saved as Corey G. I clicked the thread. Corey G. Tell me you're wearing the blue one today. Monica. It's already sweaty, but not from running smirking face. Corey G. You're evil. Monica. You love it. Corey G. Not as much as I love you. I didn't flinch. Not because it didn't hurt, trust me, it did, but because I'd already expected it. It's funny how your mind braces for impact before your heart even knows there's a crash coming. I locked the phone and placed it gently back in the drawer. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and did what any rational man would do. I made eggs. Because sometimes, the only control you have left is over how well you scramble something. At 7:47 a.m., I heard her come back in. Her keys clattered onto the table, followed by the sound of her unzipping that neon orange running jacket she never used to wear. I looked up from my plate. How was your run? I asked. She was flushed, breathless, but not in the way you get from cardio. Good, she lied. avoiding eye contact. She grabbed a protein shake from the fridge, drank it in silence. That was new too. She used to eat toast with me, talk about the news. Now it was just her and a blender full of things I couldn't pronounce. You showering here or his place? I said it with a straight face. A surgeon's calm. Her hand froze on the fridge door. What? I pushed my plate away gently. Nothing. Just wondering. She didn't say a word. Just stared. A deer in headlights, except the deer knows it's about to get hit. She didn't know what was coming. I stood up and walked past her. No confrontation. No accusations. Just a pause as I reached the hallway and said over my shoulder, "You left your old phone in the drawer, by the way. Might want to wipe that. Never know who could see something." I didn't turn around, but I heard her choke on that protein shake. That was the moment she knew. I knew. You ever hear a name so generic it sounds fake? Corey G. Could have been anyone. Could have been a dentist. Could have been a dog walker. Could have been the guy who never learned to properly parallel park. But I knew one thing, he was very real to Monica. Real enough that she stopped eating breakfast with me. Real enough that she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at our wedding photos. So I did what any recently betrayed husband with a functioning internet connection would do. I searched Corey G. and Monica's company name. Hit number 4, LinkedIn. Corey Garrison. Strategic Growth Advisor, Brand Spark Creative. Smiling in a navy blazer, slightly crooked teeth, the kind of face that says, I peaked in college, but don't tell my ego. Okay, that's the guy. I clicked through his profile. He had one of those bios that say a lot but mean nothing, helping companies leverage their brand potential while driving real-time transformation. Translation, professional smooth talker. One picture showed him at some company retreat, holding a wine glass and grinning beside none other than my wife. Monica in a sundress I'd never seen before. One hand on her hip, the other resting lightly on his chest. Like she was posing for a life she hadn't earned yet. I stared at the photo until it stopped looking like her. Then I printed it out. I know, old school. But I needed to hold it. To feel the weight of something she tried to keep digital and secret. That photo became Exhibit A in a folder I labeled The Audit. I wasn't planning revenge yet. I was taking stock. Just like she had taken stock of me, my usefulness, my reliability, and decided I was no longer. Exciting. Later that week, she told me she had a retreat coming up. Some team-building weekend at a lake resort, 2 hours away. I nodded. That sounds great, I said, barely hiding the crack forming under the smile. She looked surprised I wasn't suspicious. I was done being suspicious. I was strategizing. That night, while she showered, I quietly packed a bag. One camera. One notepad. A burner phone I bought that afternoon from a gas station 3 towns over. Yeah, I was going. Not as a man trying to stop an affair. As a man documenting it. Friday morning, she left like a woman headed to a spa, not a corporate retreat. Oversized sunglasses, duffel bag swinging from her shoulder, and that careless little hum she always used to reserve for vacations in Napa. We'll do trust exercises and communication workshops, she said, keys in hand. Might not have reception. Don't worry if you don't hear from me. I smiled. Wasn't planning to. That's the funny thing about betrayal, it teaches you to hide your sharpest thoughts in your softest tone. She kissed my cheek, light and cold, and drove off in the SUV I paid for. And just like that, Monica was out of the driveway and into what she assumed was freedom. 10 minutes later, I was too. My bag was in the trunk, burner phone charged, full tank of gas. The GPS coordinates of the retreat were already pulled up on my dashboard. Blue Creek Lodge. Cute. Sounded like a place where people sipped wine by fire pits and called it personal growth. I wasn't chasing. I was observing. 2 hours later, I pulled into the parking lot of a rundown diner about a half-mile from the resort. The kind of place with 4 menu items and 3 regulars. I ordered a black coffee I didn't want and asked the server, "You get a lot of guests from the lodge over there?" She rolled her eyes. The corporate yuppies? Yeah, they swing through, pretend they're roughing it, while ordering oat milk and phone chargers. I laughed. Sounds about right. They usually hit the trails after lunch, then huddle in the main lodge till bedtime. Bonfire if they're feeling wild. She poured me another cup without asking. I tipped extra. Information costs more than caffeine. I parked my car out of sight and hiked a short trail I found on the map. It led to the backside of the property, near the cabins, where the real action lived. Not the team-building nonsense with yoga mats and whiteboards. No, this was where things off-agenda happened. By sundown, I was tucked into a spot between two trees, high enough to see most of the camp but far enough that no one would notice me. I had snacks, water, binoculars, a thermos of coffee, and the kind of focus most men only get during playoff season. Then I saw her, Monica, laughing, wearing a hoodie that wasn't hers. Navy blue with the logo of a brewery in Denver. Corey's, I'd bet money. She was holding a beer in one hand and his wrist in the other. That same wrist she used to massage when he got carpal tunnel from typing all day. Give me a break. They sat by the fire, close but not touching. That's how cheaters do it in public. Close enough to feel it, far enough to deny it. She threw her head back at something he said. He leaned in, whispering near her ear. Her hand touched his knee. I took a photo. Click. Not because I needed evidence for court. I wouldn't waste lawyer money on this. But because I wanted to remember this moment, her in her element, free from the constraints of fidelity, grinning like nothing in the world could hurt her. They disappeared into one of the cabins around 10 p.m. No kiss. No drama. Just a quiet slip through the door like two ghosts who didn't know anyone anything. I stayed in the woods till midnight. Mosquito-bitten, tired, but wired with clarity. She was gone. And the woman she used to be, the one who sent me dumb gifts in the middle of work meetings, who danced in the kitchen in socks while spaghetti boiled, she didn't exist anymore. She was somebody else's now. So what do you do when the life you've built becomes someone else's playground? You build a new life. But first, you empty the old one. I checked into a cheap motel 3 towns away under the name David Kearns. No ID required, just cash and a face that didn't want small talk. That night, I opened my laptop and went to work. Plan A, financial freedom. Monica didn't know it, but I'd been handling all the money. She liked to think her job brought in half the income, and technically, she wasn't wrong. But everything, retirement, insurance, brokerage, mortgage, was tied to me. I started rerouting things. Nothing illegal, just inconvenient. Password changes. Account splits. A freeze on the joint credit card. Plan B, the house. I pulled up the home security system. Yep, still active. I changed the codes. Ordered a smart lock for the front door. Then I emailed the HO and told them I'd be doing emergency maintenance on the interior. Which, to be fair, wasn't a lie. Plan C, her job. She was up for a promotion. That much I knew. Corey worked in a different department, but their fraternizing was still against policy. Office romance was like playing with matches in a fireworks store. So I created a Dropbox folder. Labeled it Professional Conduct Concerns. Uploaded everything text from her old phone, screenshots from LinkedIn, the photo from the fire pit. Anonymous email. Clean IP address. No fingerprints. I didn't send it. Not yet. This wasn't about rage. This was chess. And I had just moved my bishop without anyone noticing. Monica was still in her cabin, probably wrapped in someone else's arms, dreaming of a future that didn't include me. I was in a motel, wrapped in silence, building a future that didn't forgive her. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just made another cup of coffee, looked out the window at the dark road beyond, and whispered the first sentence of my new life. Check. She came home Sunday night like nothing had happened. No guilt. No glow of shame. Just that same fake laugh energy she used to use on her coworkers, now aimed at me, like I was some background actor in her sitcom of a life. Weekend was amazing, she said, dropping her duffel bag at the door. We did a ropes course. You would have hated it. I looked up from the book I wasn't really reading. Good time. She shrugged, already scrolling through her phone. Yeah. Productive. Productive. Sure. Nothing screams corporate development like sharing a cabin with your affair partner and playing trust fall in between wine-fueled trysts. She kicked off her shoes and walked past me. No kiss. No glance. Just straight to the bedroom. And that's when she saw it. Or more accurately, didn't. Her side of the closet? Empty. Her drawers? Cleaned out. The dresser top where she kept her perfumes and earrings? Bare. From the hallway, I heard the pause. That flicker of silence where her brain tried to reboot the scene. The creak of the floorboard as she stepped back out. Where are my things? She asked, casual on the surface but warily perched on the edge of panic. I stood and stretched like this was just another Sunday evening. Your clothes? They're in storage. She blinked. Storage. Yup. Off-site. I needed space. For what? I didn't answer. Just walked past her into the bedroom and opened the top drawer. Mine now. No lace. No silk. No trace of her left. I pay half the rent, she snapped, arms crossed. No, I said calmly. I do. You haven't touched the mortgage since April. That hit her like a brick. Because she knew it was true. She'd been between raises and covering travel costs and all those other convenient reasons why the direct deposit never landed. This is my home, too, she said, stepping closer. Not anymore. I pulled a manila envelope from the nightstand and handed it to her. Inside, a notarized move-out agreement with a 14-day window, citing personal incompatibility and financial misalignment. The wording was dry, cold, and legal. She flipped through the pages like they were in a foreign language. What is this? Your soft landing, I replied. Because believe it or not, I'm not trying to humiliate you. I'm trying to remove you. You're kicking me out of my own home? No, I corrected. I'm asking you to leave mine. Her voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? That was the first real emotion she'd shown. Not regret. Not sorrow. Just inconvenience. I assume Corey has a guest room, I said, picking my book back up. The silence stretched between us, taut and vibrating. I didn't sleep with him, she whispered, like that might still matter. I didn't look up. And I didn't change the locks yet. So let's both appreciate the grace we're being given. She stared at me, processing the cold, clean finality of it. I wasn't asking. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't even angry. I was done. Then came the tears. Manufactured, thin, and decades too late. I made a mistake, she said. Can we just talk? Please. I closed the book. Finally looked her in the eyes. No, Monica. You made decisions. Mistakes are when you forget to pick up milk. What you did? That's a strategy. I walked past her, calm, collected, as her breathing started to hitch. I could feel the confusion radiating off her. This wasn't the version of me she thought she'd get. She expected rage. A breakdown. A man groveling for answers. Instead, I gave her a deadline. I'll be staying at a hotel until you've moved your things, I said, grabbing my keys. The security system resets Tuesday at midnight. Make sure you're done before then. You'd really do this, she choked out. After everything? I paused in the doorway. Exactly because of everything. By Wednesday, she was gone. A few garbage bags full of makeup and regrets. A potted plant I never liked. The wine glasses we got as a wedding gift, probably hoping they'd still taste like something special in her new life. She left a note. One of those hand-scrawled. I hope you'll heal apologies that people write when they still think they're the hero in someone else's tragedy. I didn't read the whole thing. I shredded it. Because healing isn't something you ask for. It's something you earn. That night, I made pasta. Poured a glass of scotch. Opened the back door and let the cool air roll in. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. She had her freedom. I had my house back. And Corey? Well, let's just say he was about to find out what happens when you make an enemy out of a man who's already lost everything worth losing. Corey Garrison liked to think of himself as bulletproof. You could tell by the way he smiled in his LinkedIn headshot. Wide grin, blazer unbuttoned, eyes squinting like he just said something brilliant and generous. That smile was in half the promotional material Monica brought home. Brochures, pitch decks, recap videos from last year's conference. He was everywhere. Until he wasn't. Because now he was in my sights. I started with the files. The ones I'd gathered from Monica's old phone and my weekend stakeout. Screenshots of texts. Photos of the retreat. One particularly damning snap of them holding hands behind the bonfire, grainy but unmistakable. Their names. Dates. Location. Timestamp from the metadata. All packaged neatly into a digital folder titled HR_compliance_concern_confidential. That file didn't go to Monica's boss. Too obvious. Too easily traced back to me. No, I sent it to the executive operations office. Upper level, faceless, and allergic to scandal. I used a throwaway email and bounced it through a proxy server. Then I waited. 2 days later, Monica called me. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't sound angry, she sounded rattled. They're doing some kind of inquiry, she said, her voice thinner than usual. About relationships between departments. Did you say something? I didn't respond. She tried again. They said someone filed an anonymous tip. Said it could affect my eligibility for the leadership track. She trailed off. That's the part that always hits hardest, not the breakup, not the guilt, but the realization that you're no longer in control. I never responded to the voicemail. She stopped calling after that. But Corey? He was next. I knew from my research that he was giving a keynote at the company's Regional Innovation Summit in Atlanta. Streamed online. Public link. viewable to investors and partners alike. I tune in, popcorn in hand. He opened strong, buzzwords flying, hands moving just enough to make you think he believed his own nonsense. But 14 minutes in, right in the middle of his slide about ethical branding and internal trust metrics, someone stepped onto the stage and handed him a small envelope. He paused, blinked, tried to laugh it off. "I guess I'm more interesting than I thought," he joked to the audience. Then his smile faltered, because inside that envelope was a letter from the compliance team, requesting his presence for an internal review. A polite phrase for, "You're being investigated." It wasn't just about Monica. It was about patterns. Turns out, Corey had a habit of mentoring a bit too closely. A few off-the-record coffee meetings. A few whispered, "We can't tell anyone," relationships that were tolerated until they weren't. That's the thing about men like him. They skate until the ice thins. I just gave it one good stomp. The live stream froze as the feed was temporarily paused due to technical difficulties. I watched the chat fill with confused emojis and polite corporate concern. I closed my laptop, poured myself another drink. One down. A week later, I got a text from Monica. Just one line. "You really did all this." No punctuation. No emoji. Just that. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I replied, "No, you did." She never texted again. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about restoration. Balance. For months, maybe years, she had rewritten our story behind my back. Recast herself as the unfulfilled wife. Me, the boring placeholder. Corey, the thrilling subplot. She thought this was fiction. Thought she could control the ending. But I reminded her what genre we were actually in. This wasn't a romance. This was consequences. The best part? I didn't lose sleep. I didn't spiral. I didn't beg or break or lose 20 pounds from stress like every heartbreak article warns you about. I just recalibrated. People think revenge is loud, angry, messy. But the most effective revenge? It's surgical. It's quiet. It leaves them standing in the wreckage wondering how it all unraveled so fast, not realizing it started the moment they assumed you were weak. I wasn't weak. I was watching. I was listening. And now? I was finally free. Monica didn't crash all at once. She tilted. First, it was the job voluntarily stepping down from her promotion candidacy while HR restructured. Then it was the whispers. Office friendships drying up. The supportive coworker crowd thinning. One by one, the people who cheered her on stopped replying to her calendar invites. A month later, I heard through a mutual friend she was living in a condo she couldn't afford, cutting corners like she used to cut coupons, but this time, without the charm. She called once more. Blocked number. Left a voicemail. "I know you're probably loving this. But if you ever cared about me, if anything between us was real, then don't enjoy watching me fall apart." I didn't respond. I did replay it a few times, though, just to marvel at how people like her never say, "I'm sorry, only don't enjoy this." She never apologized. Just tried to shame me for surviving. After the storm cleared, I did something bold. Nothing. I didn't rebound. Didn't post cryptic quotes online. I didn't reinvent myself overnight or take a dramatic vacation to find peace in the mountains. I just lived. I cooked dinner. I read books in silence. I went to bed without wondering who was texting my wife at 11 p.m. Funny thing, when the noise dies, you finally realize how loud it was. She used to fill the house with drama disguised as conversation. Guilt disguised as humor. I'm fine, disguised as nuclear warfare. Now, I had peace. And peace, I learned, doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, like a dog settling at your feet. One afternoon, I ran into her sister at the grocery store. She hesitated, then said, "You seem happier." I shrugged. Turns out, breathing's easier when you're not holding your breath every day. She didn't argue. 6 months later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. From Monica. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was a long, meandering attempt to rewrite history, how she felt alone, how she made mistakes, how she got caught up in something that didn't matter once it cost her everything. She ended with, "I hope one day you can forgive me, even if I never deserve it." And you know what? I didn't need to. Because forgiveness isn't about them. It's about choosing not to drag the wreckage of their choices into your clean house. I folded the letter. Didn't shred it. Didn't burn it. Just placed it in a drawer I never opened. A reminder that I didn't need vengeance anymore. I'd already won. Now, I said this story had a cruel ending. And here it is, not violent. Not loud. Just perfect. Months after the HR fallout, Corey was still job hunting. Word travels fast when you're the guy who sleeps his way through departments. But what he didn't know, the final cherry on top was coming from me. I had one more photo I hadn't used. Monica and Corey, same retreat, kissing beside the resort's branded welcome sign. That photo made its way to Corey's fiancée. Yep, didn't know he had one? Neither did Monica. Found her through a tagged engagement photo on his cousin's Facebook. Lovely woman. Her name was Isabel. Worked in early childhood education. Wore chunky glasses and seemed like the kind of person who actually believed in people. I sent her the photo. No note. No explanation. Just facts. 2 days later, Corey deleted all his socials. 3 weeks later, a contact at BrandSpark told me he moved to Texas. Fresh start, they said. But let's be honest, you can only start fresh if you've actually changed. Me? I stayed. Same city. Same address. Different life. And if you're wondering whether I regret anything, only one thing. That I didn't fold that salad spinner and throw it in her suitcase when I had the chance.